Thanks for having us today. Hey, everyone. Nice to meet you all. Let me give a couple clicks. Hopefully you can see this kind of welcome slide.
Yes.
Thumbs up. Awesome. Yes, great. As Katie and Katrina said, my name is BJ View, founder of HT Genetics, and I have my co-partner here, Wes Solom, who's the director of genetics at HT Genetics, which is fun to say because this has been a little bit of a journey, and that's what we're here to talk to you about. It's what Katie and Katrina asked us to speak about is what is it like to build a company that's HT specific, that's going to be offering genetic counseling and testing. So it's been a long journey. Many of you may have heard of us talk about this previously on a Help for HD video or podcast, or we've been talking about this idea for a long time. And we're really excited to say we're almost to the finish line. But I thought it would be an interesting to just share the journey it's taken to get to where we are and maybe take a couple steps back of why we're trying to do this. And hopefully just also answer any questions anyone out there has about what we're trying to do in hopes that it gives you or someone in your family another option when they're considering this very important life decision, which is getting tested for Huntington's disease. I'm going to take you back a little bit of why. And some of you might know these stats. I know way too much of these statistics digging in over the past couple of years, but there was a study done that shows there's about 200,000 people at risk for Huntington's disease in the United States. It's probably a little bit more is my guess, but the study found out that about 90% of people choose not to get tested, with the main reason being, and many of us know this, because there's nothing to do about it. So what is that knowledge going to do? If you're not a knowledge is power type of individual, there's not a treatment yet that we can just get the answer to our test and go and do and get rid of HD, unfortunately. So there's a huge population of people who aren't tested. But where my hypothesis is there are treatments coming. And even I've written about this, I've talked about this. The question we continue to ask the community is, do you want to know? Wes, Katie, Katrina, if you're out there, do you want to know if you have the genetic mutation for HD? That's been the question we've asked for the last 50 years. And fortunately, I think we need to start shifting how that question's asked. And it's not, do you want to know? It's going to be, do you need to know? Because sooner or later, everyone who's at risk for HD is going to need to know their genetic status if they want to either enroll in one of these clinical trials, or hopefully one day, if they're approved and commercially available, your insurance is going to want to know for sure if you have the genetic mutation or not. So we know these treatments are coming. I believe there's even a couple of these logos on the left, which are all the companies involved in the pharmaceutical or biotech space that have a treatment program in clinical trials for HD. There may be even one or two of them that folks who don't yet even have symptoms can join. So that's a huge shift. And it's going to continue to shift to treating people who are earlier on in their disease onset. And hopefully one day there'll be treatments available for people who don't even have symptoms yet. That's the ultimate goal. Let's do something about these symptoms and this condition before it ever starts. That's how other rare diseases are treated. So that's where we're going for HD. But upon that, there's going to be a lot of people who want to get tested for HD. And currently, there's not a great setup in our healthcare system to provide all this testing and counseling that's going to be needed. A lot of the counseling provided for people going through HD genetic testing is, are you mentally, psychologically able to handle this answer? That's what it's been today and in the past. And I think that counseling is going to be changing into not whether or not you can handle that if you have it or not, but how do we now help you get to the next spot based on what you're interested in? So now you might have, in the next couple of years, you might get a positive genetic test result, but now you're going to have to choose which clinical trial might you want to enroll in, or which treatment might you want to enroll in. And that's going to be a different situation and a different question you're going to have to learn, but it's still going to be a really tough question to answer because there's not going to be a perfect, hey, you've got this, you need to get X treatment. There's going to be options. And I think the genetic counselor is going to play a big role into helping the individual make that next step in their journey. So huge bolus. There's not enough genetic counselors out there. Even the centers of excellence that we have don't really have the bandwidth to withstand potentially 180,000 people wanting to get this service. So we went out and we're trying to do something about it. Currently, you can get tested. Many of you on the line may know this. You can go to a center of excellence. Awesome. They have a team of experts. It's typically in person. They have the social worker, they have the neurologist, they have the genetic counselor. They really have the team to help you. And a lot of people, unfortunately, they don't live by a center of excellence. So they do end up going down the street to a local physician. It could be a neurologist. It could just be your general practice family doctor. These doctors typically don't know much about Huntington's, but they can write for the Huntington's genetic test. They typically don't provide any counseling. It's typically pretty quick. And unfortunately, these physicians don't guide you really where to go next. So two options. They work for some, they don't work for others. But we really thought there needs to be another option, an option that maybe you don't fit into one of these buckets, but you're still looking to have a best-in-class experience. So this is what we've been working on for the past, I'll show you a slide and a couple slides. This has been an idea for about 3 years. The company is called HD Genetics, and our goal is to really empower the Huntington's disease patient community through best-in-class genetic testing and counseling. So very excited to have this logo to be able to share with you today a little bit more. What we hope to do with HD Genetics is offer a virtual genetic testing and counseling service. So it's all done online with a genetic counselor that spends 100% of their time on HD. And I'm going to let Wes speak soon and introduce himself. But it will be patient initiated, which isn't like 23andMe. It's more just like if I'm the patient and I want to get tested, I can initiate that process by reaching out to HD Genetics. And typically it's a little bit of a myth buster, but the genetic test can be provided either by blood or saliva. It's been in our brain for so long, and we talked about this, Katie and Katrina, with you guys on the TV show a few weeks ago. Is saliva it's the same process, it's the same accuracy, but it's an easier way to do it. So HD Genetics will provide you virtual counseling through your computer or your iPad or your phone with a genetic counselor, and then you'll get a kit in the mail where you can spit into it and then use our genetic testing and counseling laboratory to run those results. And then you will get a post-test counseling session with the same genetic counselor to help you understand what your results mean, and then most importantly, help you in the next step of your journey. So a very simple, relatively simple process in hopes to provide a new option for those who are looking to test. As I said, and I'll always say, really the genetic testing process is just the start of the journey, and HD Genetics wants to be there for you if that's what you want to go through, but we want to then help you get to where you want to go. So if you want to get connected to a center of excellence who might have clinical trials, if you want to get connected to advocacy resources, we want to find people who might not know about the great advocacy organizations like Help for HD, get them connected, get them into the community, so they can find all the support programs and resources they need. So yes, we offer genetic testing, but it's not just, hey, here's your result, have a good day. It's, hey, how can we continue to help and support you as the individual throughout the course of your journey? This is our team. As I said, it's a small but mighty team, myself and Wes. Again, Wes, introduce yourself in 1 second. Then we have a handful of HD genetic advisors. You might know some of these names. They're all volunteers, but they have a vast array of experience in genetics, into running companies, and into Huntington's disease. We also have a group of advocates from the community who have helped us. Connor, Melissa, Seth, and Lauren have been instrumental in just letting me bounce ideas off of them over the past 2 years. So thank you to everyone on this page for bringing this to life. And then it doesn't happen overnight. This was an idea that happened really in 2017, 2018. I was a co-founder of the Huntington's Disease Youth Organization and the board president. And I pulled up a text that I sent to my HDO colleagues, Matt and Kat, that said, we should hire a genetic counselor. And this was back in 2017 because we could see the demand, the need, the importance of a genetic counselor. Wasn't a fit for HDO. So that's where I went off on my own and said, all right, let's build this some other way. Did a lot of community confirmation market research through online surveys, through talking to folks. And then once I learned, hey, this is needed, I went out and tried to find a genetic counselor. And it was really hard. Most genetic counselors spend a very small amount of time of their professional lives on HD. A lot of genetic counselors don't really even want to spend their time on HD. It's a tough topic. It's an emotional topic. It's not one that they want to spend 100% of their day doing. So I was in search, talking to a lot of folks, and then this needle popped out of a haystack, and someone said, "Hey, do you know Wes?" And this was about a year ago, almost to the day. And I met Wes, and that's really where things really got a kickstart, and HD Genetics really came to life. Wes, I'm going to pass it over to yourself to just share a little bit about your background, passion for HD, a little bit about whatever you want to tell folks about your passion for bringing this to life.
Sure. Thanks, PJ. Yeah, just to do as quick of an introduction as I can and give people an idea of where I'm coming from, what brings me into the HD sphere. I first joined the community back when I was in Bellingham, Washington, in undergraduate college. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to study when I first started going to school there. I was coming fresh out of a different career that I had spent 11 years doing. And I was taking various classes, and I stumbled across this class for neuroscience, which led to me working in, long story short, Dr. Jeff Carroll's lab studying Huntington's disease specifically. And many of you probably know Dr. Jeff Carroll from either being the one half of the funny presentations at the HDSA conventions or being one of the founders of HD Buzz. But I loved working in his lab. I got to dedicate as much time as I could to this passion of studying HD, which led to being selected for one of the HDSA Donald A. King undergraduate fellowships for research, which then led me to the HDSA convention in Boston, which was my first experience with an HDSA convention. And there I was surrounded by the community and just incredibly inspired. And I came back to Dr. Carroll and said, my time at Western's about to come to an end. I'm trying to figure out where I should go next. And he recommended that I look into genetic counseling, which at the time I wasn't familiar with. And I shadowed some genetic counselors in Seattle. I did an internship at Northwestern University in Chicago and felt very fortunate that I had stumbled across what I felt was my calling. I didn't think in a million years I would right out the gate find such a, like BJ just described, a needle in a haystack, this opportunity to dedicate my time and energy to exactly what I'm passionate about. But my time studying genetic counseling was at Johns Hopkins for a few years, and my thesis research focused on the COVID-19 impact on genetic counseling for Huntington's disease and how there was this shift to telehealth. And that initially most genetic counselors were a little concerned that this was something that was conventionally performed in person, of course, that was moving over to a virtual arena. But by and large, most genetic counselors were really surprised by how well it worked and how much people really liked having that option available. And one of the genetic counselors that I was interviewing said, "Do you know BJ View? I feel like I should get you guys connected." And we got connected then, and I couldn't believe at the time then, and I still can't believe now, that BJ is a real person and is as passionate about this as I am. And I feel very lucky, proud, and thrilled to be a part of this. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, Wes. Yeah, Wes and I have been on the ground working hard really since the start of the year, building the plane, and we're almost ready for takeoff. We should have some news upon HD Genetics launching in early August, so stay tuned. A couple of just brief FAQs, and then we'll be done. Are we open now? No, we're not. We should know more on August 5th, so stay tuned. If you want us to email you, you can go to our website, shoot us a note, and we'll add you to the email press release. We're not going to open in every state, so a lot of this ups and downs is there's a crazy amount of licensure rules we have to follow offering medical service. So it's very state by state dependent, and with genetic counselors, and we have to have a physician involved. It's a little crazy, and I won't go into that, but we will hope to launch in states Arizona, Kansas, Maryland, Mississippi, Missouri, Nevada, New York, North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia, Wisconsin, really in early August. Just means that you have to be in one of those states when you get your kit sent. And then our hope is by the end of 2022, after Wes is fully licensed in all these states, that we'll be live throughout the country. So really excited. How much will it cost? The first genetic counseling session with Wes or our other counselors is at no cost. There's no obligation. If you decide you want to test after that first counseling session, we charge $500, which encompasses everything: the test that comes to your house, postage to mail it back, and then post-test counseling session. That's it. There's no other cost. We won't take insurance. It's a cash or a card or a money order, or however you can pay. I just want to say, if 500 seems like a lot still, don't make that turn you off to reach out. We want to make sure that cost is not an option to anyone or anyone who wants this. And then the thing that everybody asks, can I test anonymously? Yes, you can use a fake name. That is an option if you want to keep it out of your medical records or your charts. But it's also good to just consult with a genetic counselor to make sure that's perfectly what you want to do. So we thought those were the top questions, but if there are any others in the short time we have, we're happy to answer them now. If Katie and Katrina, you have anything else, we can chat about it.
Yeah. So one question that came in actually after our TV show. So I was like, let's say this now, is they were talking about what is your like perimeters with age? So are you going to be testing JHD? Are you going to be testing an 18-year-old? Do you have perimeters that have been set up for the age of testing?
Yeah, we're going to stick to really the general guidelines, which is you should be 18 years or older to get this test. You need to be an adult and be able to make that decision on your own. If there's unique situations, which there are a lot of unique situations in the Huntington's community, like we could sit down and spend months trying to predict all the situations that would come up, and we wouldn't get them all. So it'll be very case by case situation based on JHD and ages. And we'll use our handful of advisors and our handful of other professionals in the HD network to consult with to make sure that we're doing the right thing for us as a business, to make sure we're not going to get in trouble, but really making sure we're doing the right thing for that patient or that parent or that family who's looking for help.